I'm Joe Giglio for NJ Sports Now on this Tuesday, July the 28th. There's a few days away from the Major League Baseball trade deadline, but the New York Mets, believe it or not, the New York Mets have been one of the most aggressive teams out on the market, and it's time to give credit where credit is due, and that is to Sandy Alderson, the man in charge of the Mets roster, both for now and for the future. The Mets are in good hands. They have been since Alderson arrived, and all of the vitriol, all of the yelling, all of the sports talk radio calls about Alderson, about Mets ownership, and why they're not doing anything in June. It was call after call, complaint after complaint about the Mets and how they're letting a brilliant pitching staff go to waste because they're not fortifying the baseball team. Well, Sandy Alderson has had one MO since he became a GM all the way back in the day with the Oakland Athletics. He's very, very patient. Sometimes people say to a fault. Well, this time the patience pays off, as it really has throughout his entire tenure with the Mets. He has made trade after trade that have worked out for the Mets, and his patience has paid off because the Mets refuse to overpay in a year where their chances to win it all probably are not what it will be in 2016, 2017, 2018. But they didn't let this season go to waste. Last week, making the deals for Kelly Johnson, making the deals for Juan Uribe from the Atlanta Braves, instantly, those two provided a punch to an offense that desperately needed it. And then yesterday, pulling off a deal for Tyler Clippard, relief pitcher from the Oakland Athletics, formerly of the Yankees and the Washington Nationals. Clippard is very good. He is very accomplished, and he will fit in well in a very good back end of the bullpen for the Mets. And if the Mets do somehow make it to October, where Henry Mejia will not be available, not be eligible because of the suspension he had earlier in the year, Clippard is the perfect eighth-inning guy to pair with Jeurys Familia in the ninth. The Mets have been aggressive here. You heard them in on Tulowitzki, who was traded to the Blue Jays. You heard them in on Jay Bruce. They are making the phone calls. They are being aggressive with an eye on today and an eye on tomorrow. The Mets aren't going to overpay here. They're not going to go out and give a Noah Syndergaard for a rental. They hung up in a phone call with the Padres when the talks got too far. They wanted Justin Upton, sure. Which team wouldn't want to bring him in to play left field? But he's a rental. The Mets aren't going to go over the top here and lose out on what could be a special team and a special pitching staff for the next few years. They will improve the team. They will make a run at it this year, but there's an eye on tomorrow. And Mets fans should appreciate that because 11 years ago, there wasn't an eye on tomorrow. Right around this time of the year, when the Mets were about 6 games out of a playoff spot, they went and traded a prospect named Scott Kazmir for a veteran named Victor Zambrano. That didn't work out. Kazmir is still pitching well and was just traded to the Astros at this trade deadline. There is a line between going for it now and preserving what will be a better tomorrow. Sandy Alderson can toe that line. The Mets can toe that line while still being aggressive. And for a GM that gets beat up as much as any GM I've seen in this area in a very long time, the Mets are in good hands with Sandy Alderson, and they will continue to be. It's time to give the guy some credit. He improved the team. He didn't really dive at all into the deep prospect stash, but the Mets are in a better spot today than they were yesterday, and Sandy Alderson is to thank. I'm Joe Giglio for NJ Sports Now.